Is Christianity a white man's religion? Well, this is one of those really problematic questions of discussion amongst believers in Christianity and non-believers alike. Some will use it as an excuse to reject Christianity, while others will use it as a critique of both the white man and Christianity, depending on which they feel more aggrieved by. Nevertheless, these two positions are seen together as one and the same, given the recent history, especially in light of imperialism. It is not as straightforward as arguing that Hinduism is an Indian religion or imagining modern science to be a white man's invention, or even whether football is an Englishman's invention. Every time I encounter this question, I keep wondering, is it on official record that the white man or whites have claimed the patents of Christianity as their own invention? They were certainly seen as the face of slavery, colonialism, and empire. If they claimed Christianity as their invention, it would be fascinating to see the kind of evidence to support their claim. But if not, I would personally say that this is a very unfair and untrue allegation against the white man and the white males. I will explain later why I've added white males. I think it is intellectually necessary that we consider the implications of such an allegation being true. And I'm going to argue that to reach such a conclusion, one has to ignore the realities of history and even Christianity itself. Who then is making this allegation? If it is the non-white, for example, the people of color, do they have the relevant evidence to substantiate their claim? It would definitely take historical, contemporary, and very importantly, biblical evidence to do so. But how far would it go in settling the debate about why the allegations themselves arise? What could be the basis of the claim that Christianity is a white man's religion? For the sake of this discussion, I will refer to it as an allegation, meaning that it remains under scrutiny and interrogation until proven true. It seems to me, and I trust many others will notice, that this allegation is loaded with lots of assumptions and contains several layers of fundamental conflicts. In my view, these may arise from hearts and minds that continue to wrestle with the negatives associated with Christianity as a religion and the white man as the representative of the superpower that once dominated the world whilst claiming to be Christian. Intriguing also, we ought to be sure whether white man isn't being assumed to mean both white people and white males at the same time. And are the allegations against or about Christianity? Or are they against or about the white man? Because there are some for whom this is a gender issue, arising from the historical fact that white males were predominantly and simultaneously at the forefronts of colonial administration and missionary ventures across the world. Women were often marginalized. Female slaves were abused by men. White males who had power, who also followed a religion called Christianity. So then we are faced with a racial, ethnic, cultural, political, gender, and religious web to disentangle. It then becomes crucial that in responding to the underlying allegations in our question, we ascertain which string or strings in the web represent the questioner's grounds. For some, it could be slavery, while for others, it could be sexism. Indeed, important work has been done on this tangled web of intersectionality by academics like Kimberly Crenshaw. To help us understand this better, I'll use an illustration of football. Is football a white man's sport? Is it even an Englishman's sport? Whether it is in the deep rainforests of Congo or the semi-arid plains of Karamoja or in refugee camps in the slums of India, children and adults, male and female, among people from every ethnicity, football is a global sport. Did the British give us football? Not at all. But they have managed to market it. They are so good at telling the world about anything they consider good, whether it's their invention or not. Just look at the cup of tea. It shouldn't be surprising that they did the same with Christianity, not because they invented it, but rather because they found it good. Is it true that white Europeans were at one point in history a vehicle by which Christianity was taken to the different parts of the world? Absolutely. But were they marketing and delivering their own invention to the largest extent? No. It should be acknowledged that in some cases, inevitably, the European missionaries whom God used to spread Christianity to the other parts of the world also drove their own political agendas and exported their cultures. It is this imperialism and its accompanying cultures that might be well labeled white. Because they spread their culture simultaneously with the spreading of Christianity, sometimes using Christianity's teachings as to endorse, approve, validate, even justify the inhuman and abusive acts like slavery and the transatlantic slave trade, then Christianity has been wrongly labeled the white man's religion. This objection has a particular string when we consider how some colonialists used Christianity's teachings to justify inhuman and abusive acts like the transatlantic slave trade. For example, the use of Genesis 9:25 to 27, where the curse of Ham is placed and transferred on the people of color. Imagine if someone made a claim that football was an English sport. If the intention of the claim is to say that the English love football and are passionate about it, as evidenced in the media and the English Premier League commanding such a huge global viewership, they would have a valid point. But if it is to allege that football as a sport was invented by the English, it would be very clear that there are major facts that this person does not know about the beautiful game of football. Invented by the Greeks, adopted and remodeled by the Germans, embraced and codified by the British, yes, and now perfected by the Brazilians, football is now a major sport in Africa, Asia, the Americas, and all corners of the world. The debate about who invented the beautiful game does not often suffice because it is our game. It brings the world together. The World Cup is a global event held on all continents, and football is round like the globe. However, it's worth noting that the Nigerians, Koreans, Moroccans, Americans, Jamaicans, Brazilians, the French, the British, Spanish, Argentines, the Greeks, name it, do not play football the same way. Each has their own style of play. It remains football. It was not passed down with Greek style, culture, or language. In fact, the Greeks are having to relearn the game they invented from those that have mastered and perfected it. Christianity is similar in many ways. When I first came to England over 15 years ago, I got the impression that football might be a religion of sorts. In fact, I did read a couple of articles voicing similar sentiments. Well, let's consider Christianity with this question: who invented it? I'll give you some fun facts about Christianity. First, historically, the Christian faith did not start in London or Berlin or even Rome. In fact, it was born in the Middle East in a city called Jerusalem, which at the time, in the 1st century, was under Roman occupation. Christian and secular scholars alike agree that in the early centuries of the Christian movement, Rome, which was the Western European superpower that dominated the world at the time, attempted to influence Christianity, but instead, Christianity changed Roman imperialism to the core. It would later even influence human rights legislation in the West. For example, the end of slavery and addressing moral issues like patriarchy and white male supremacy. Prior to the establishment of Christianity, Roman imperialists had the political and cultural endorsement to dehumanize people of other ethnicities and abuse women, something many other cultures were also equally culpable of, with no reference to Christianity at all. However, While these Roman imperialists may have used burgeoning Christianity to justify themselves, with time, the teachings of the Bible from which Christianity draws its tenets would be understood to compel believers, both white and people of color, to reflect and radically turn around their words and actions. And Christianity continues to grow today. For example, in 2013, the Center for the Study of Global Christianity at the Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary in Massachusetts projected the Global South, especially Africa, to be the center of global Christianity in the 21st century. The Global South is not white. The same study showed how, in stark contrast, Christianity is greatly declining in Europe and in the Western world at large. While there could be other explanations for that global trend, it should be a fascinating observation that the people who should be rejecting Christianity for its historical association with the vices like slavery, sexism, abuse, are instead holding it up and are re-evangelizing the very West that weaponized the religion against them. Such a trend does not speak of indoctrination and slavery of the mind, as some may argue, but rather is a testament of Christianity being more than a religion or a man's invention. It may have been started in a small Jewish town by a Jewish rabbi with a few Jewish followers, but was never confined to the Jews. Jesus, the founder of Christianity, commissioned his followers to spread Christianity to the ends of the earth without any discrimination, ethnic or otherwise. Paul, one of Jesus' early followers, was very insistent in his writings to other believers and followers of the same Jesus to know that their newly found faith was not owned or bound by any one special ethnicity. Today, Christianity is African, American, Asian, Indian, Caribbean in expression, much less European. Christianity is not white today because it was never white from the beginning. It is also true that the Bible, which is Christianity's handbook, was written on 3 different continents: the Middle East, Europe, and Africa, in 3 different languages: Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic, woven together in at least 3 distinct cultures through a period of over 1,000 years. This simply means that no individual country or continent, no culture, no language, no generation whatsoever can claim to have its own unique imprint on the Bible. Hence, no one can claim the patents of Christianity. Only Jesus Christ can, because it's named after him. And I dare say, he was not white, nor did he design Christianity to suit white culture and interests. However, the allegation that Christianity is a white man's religion cannot be taken lightly, both because it has implications on how the rest of humanity views the white man and Christianity today, and because it invites us to re-examine whatever assumptions it might be based on. Part of it may arise from the unresolved fundamental issues of hearts and minds in relation to experiential damage caused by the white man hiding behind Christianity. It then also becomes very crucial to differentiate between white people and the West as a whole, and from white males and white supremacists. While one man can be all of these labels are not necessarily true about a white person. If these allegations arise from the pain caused by the transatlantic slave trade, a direction they often seem to take, then they ought to be addressed by first understanding the facts about the trade, in which one party, the buyers, sometimes used the Bible to abuse and dehumanize other humans into items for ownership and tools for work. Then the other party, the seller, needs to be held accountable for treating fellow humans, mostly Africans, as mere items or commodities to sell and earn a living. Both the buyer and the seller felt the power to dehumanize other human beings and become even more powerful by doing so. Some of those in one party, the buyer especially, used the Bible to back their detestable subjugation of others. Of course, it cannot be fully established if the African chiefs, for example, had the power to choose whether to sell slaves to the white and Arab enslavers or not, given that some were already under imperialist rule and did it for their own survival. Either way, they consciously cooperated and actively participated and benefited from the trade. This was at the expense of fellow Africans, fellow humans. So then, without neglecting the power imbalances at play during the transatlantic slave trade, we have to acknowledge that both the buyers and the sellers equally treated fellow humans as just things. They did not love neighbor as self. I come from a country which is famously known as home to the Uganda Martyrs of the 19th century. It is widely believed that those 45 men and one woman did not defy Kabaka Mwanga, the monarch's orders, on merely political affiliation with the white colonialists, but on the firm convictions of their newly found faith in Christ. They were willing even to die. It was not a white man's faith, but now their faith. Today, many Ugandans, Africans, and other followers of Christ across the world are challenged, encouraged, and their faith strengthened, not because of the white missionaries that brought the gospel to those that would later become the Uganda Martyrs, but by the story of the martyrs themselves. Their faith in Christ had no color or ethnicity, and that's why their impact on the global Christianity bears none. Did Christianity begin in white man's Europe? Historically, early Christianity thrives in Libya, Egypt, Cyprus, Ethiopia, Antioch, before it sweeps across Europe and returns much stronger to Africa and other parts of the world after the Enlightenment period. As it has been said, it is a genetic fallacy and intellectual laziness to reject a truth claim on the grounds of its origin. But in this case, this is not even the core issue of contention, because historically, Jews were not known to be white, but other-colored. All that said, the truth claims of Christianity that Jesus Christ is God incarnate. He had a virgin birth, was crucified, died, and resurrected in bodily form after 3 days. Those who believe these truths by faith become part of the community of God's kingdom and transformed from the inside out are being built into the Christian movement. Those truth claims have no color to them, but people of every color have responded to them. So, is Christianity a white man's religion? Definitely not. But this false allegation still lingers around because there seems to be an unwillingness to engage with the story of Christianity beyond some of the unfortunate events of imperialistic advancement. It is also noteworthy that this notion that Christianity is a white man's religion is quite a recent one. The ancient and medieval world did not see Christianity to have any color. Perhaps the rise of this allegation reveals more about the priorities of this day and age than the first century. Therefore, let us remember that football requires the whole body, but it's a sport of the feet. And it doesn't matter the color of feet or boots. Christianity, on the other hand, requires hearts and minds that believe and respond to the teachings of Jesus Christ, resulting into a holistic transformation of the persons in whom those responsive hearts and minds dwell. Every human has a heart and a mind, and those faculties are the same color in each, and none of them is white. Is Christianity a white man's religion? Not at all.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Alonzo here from the ACA, the Oxford Center for Christian Apologetics. Behind me, I have a bunch of our team. We are making some content right now. Hey, we can only do this sort of work because of generous people like yourselves. You like things, you subscribe, you share, you follow, and you prayerfully and financially support us. We literally could not do this without you. So we just all wanted to say thank you. Thank you for making this all possible to reach people with the good news of Jesus. Now, if you want to see more of this, you can check out our website, theoka.org. We are putting new content up there all the time. We try to mix it up and do really cool things, but we just wanted to say thank you so much. Go to the website for more fresh, new content, and we'll see you next time. Thank you again. Peace.